The battle for religious freedom has become an important topic in the presidential race. Just today, Donald Trump spoke out on behalf of Joe Kennedy, the high school football coach who was fired for praying after games. This week, a Pennsylvania seminary is taking up the debate. Leading Christian thinkers will gather at Westminster Theological Seminary for a conference called Faith in the Public Square. The president of Westminster, Dr. Peter Lilback, joins us now with a preview. Welcome, Dr. Lilback.
Mark, it's a pleasure to be with you and all your viewers today.
Thank you. Well, tell us what your conference is about.
Well, we are aware that the culture that we've been part of for so many years is beginning to move from being just a post-Christian culture to literally being an anti-Christian culture. We've heard that the Civil Rights Commission of the United States has declared that the traditional understanding of the First Amendment that protects conscience is no longer the way they're going to view it. They see a commitment to traditional marriage as an expression of hate speech, a belief that genders are divinely given as part of our personhood as some sort of opposition to the norms and standards of an enlightened culture. And as we begin to see that taught and then applied in government policy, it's creating a whole new context in the American setting. Students who've studied at seminaries through the past many years have been used to the thought that the church was a value-added contribution to a community. But now what we're seeing is that those that hold to a historic judeo-christian worldview are viewed as somehow not worthy of being protected by First Amendment liberties, that they are perpetrators of prejudice and hostility. And that means that we need to find better ways to communicate our values. We need to understand better ways to engage our culture. We need to consider what are the challenges that are coming and to prepare for them. And so in a small way, this conference, Faith in the Public Square, a dialogue on public policy, is trying to bring an interconfessional dialogue together of those who care about these important ethical issues from our heritage and find ways not only to talk to each other, but to think deeply and hopefully to create some better ways forward.
How do we get here to this anti-Christian society that you're talking about?
Well, Charles Taylor is a great philosopher from Canada, and he put it this way. He said, once there was a time when it was impossible not to believe. And he said that was what the medieval world was like. If you didn't believe, you could get burned at the stake. And then with the Enlightenment, following the Reformation, there came a time when it was possible to believe and possible not to believe. The Reformation restored a sense of civil liberties, and then it was possible for deist and atheist and theist and various religious communities to live side by side. And then we moved somewhere in the last several years into what's called a time when it is impossible to believe. Now, what we mean by that is that now it is a time when a CEO of a country, or let's say of a company, cannot maintain a historic Christian value without getting fired. That means that a football coach, as you just mentioned, who believes that prayer is important, can actually lose his job. There's a time when we were beginning to lose our reputation. We're marginalized as Christians. Now there's a time where we're beginning to lose our jobs. Will there be a time when we begin to lose our lives, to lose our heads, because we stand boldly for Christ? So we have seen this movement from historic religious liberty and the freedom of conscience to become something that no longer is afforded to the very community, the judeo-christian worldview that created the public square in the first place.
Many Americans are under the impression that there should be a dividing wall between religion and government, but you say otherwise. Why is that?
Well, first of all, we believe that there is value for there being a clear wall of distinction between the work of the church and the work of the state. So if we properly understand Thomas Jefferson's famous metaphor that he used in a letter to the Danbury Baptists in the early 1800s, we want to say, of course, there should be a wall of separation. I'm a Presbyterian, but I'm glad that not just Presbyterians run America. We need to have a legitimate diversity, a pluralism that reflects our different convictions. But when that wall becomes so great that you say you have nothing to do with government, including your belief in God, what we have done is not distinguish church and state, but we've actually separated God and government. And that is a form of an entrenchment or an establishment of atheism. It is not being neutral when it comes to worldview or ideology. It's actually saying that a particular view that actually gave birth to the American experiment is no longer welcome. And that's something we need to be deeply concerned about. It's no surprise that our Constitution was dated in the year of our Lord, 1787, that the Declaration of Independence has 4 direct references to deity, and that our national motto is "In God We Trust." Those things are written in stone, written in our founding documents, but we're beginning to see a hostility that's moving against these things, claiming that the judeo-christian worldview is an interloper. Instead, we want to say, no, it is the very creator of the liberties that we all share together. So we need to be concerned about these things because there is a desire to remove the Christian and the judeo-christian values from our dialogue in the public space.
Dr. Lillback, can we get back to valuing our religious roots, and how do we get there?
I think one of the things that we need to do is to remind everybody that when you come to the question of whether there is a God or not, what religion you hold or don't hold, what viewpoint for truth you have, your epistemology or your ethics, in every one of those decisions, you are exercising faith. Human beings, by their bare finitude as finite creatures, are unable to have absolute knowledge of anything. And that means we all believe something. An atheist cannot prove there is no God. He can only believe there is no God and bring arguments for it. A Christian recognizes he cannot prove God's existence to an atheist his satisfaction. He comes with his presupposition, his worldview. The Germans called it a Weltanschauung. We come with a commitment to a reality that we presuppose. And so the first beginnings of re-engaging faithfully in this arena is recognizing that everybody is a person of faith. And then secondly, once we've done that, we need to recognize that the conscience that we all bear is what gives us our dignity. A conscience is the ability to be faithful to what you truly believe on the inside and being able to express that on the outside in a community where civil liberties are respected. And so it really comes back to what William Penn here in Philadelphia established so long ago when he established Philadelphia, a city that means brotherly love. He wanted the brothers of Philadelphia to love each other in spite of their religious differences. He wanted there to be religious liberty. And the way that you got that, according to his understanding, was to live out the teaching of Jesus in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12. We know that better as the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. He didn't like it when he was thrown into the Tower of London for being a Quaker preacher. And so he didn't put Anglicans in prison when they came to the city of Philadelphia, even though it was a Quaker city. And so what we see then is that we need to have that same attitude. There is room in the public space for diverse opinions, for dialogue, for debate, that we need to learn to live together at the level of our deepest disagreements, recognizing the importance of our conscience. As Penn said long ago, a man who is not free on the inside is not free at all. And so we must reaffirm the rights of conscience, the free exercise of religion, recognizing that what we want for ourselves, we must grant that right to others. And so 2 points to summarize. We must recognize that there are worldviews, they're all faith-based. No one can prove them ultimately. Secondly, we recognize the legitimacy of those worldviews by providing a common space where all of them can be equally recognized and they can engage in the debate and the discussion that's inevitable when we disagree about the values we hold at the deepest level, that is in our consciences.
All right, Dr. Peter Lillback, the president of Westminster Theological Seminary, thank you for your time today, sir.
It's a great honor. Best wishes.